We teach what we need the most. There's a few ways of saying this, but I've noticed this pattern in a lot of people, is that we will always find ourselves teaching people what we needed the most. Because we couldn't find it anywhere else in reality. Have you noticed that? I think about my own journey with writing my book, and really, it's synonymous with what James Clear has once said, which was, we write the books we need ourselves. I just found this very interesting to really notice, and this can be very inspiring when you think of it this way, because if you think about a problem that you have that you need to solve, that you're not really quite sure how to solve it right just yet, you can turn your current problem into your own personal learning project. And then you can make a mind map on how you're going to solve it. And at the end of it all, you will present to the world what you have learned from your journey. And even if that journey means, seeking out mentors to solve this issue, I feel like the cherry on top of really permanently solving a problem for yourself is to be able to teach people how to solve it themselves from your perspective, from your story. Because there's a lot of, for example, there's a lot of gurus and teachers out there for every topic, for every skill that you want to build. However, the catch is there's not all of these people have come from an exact place as you have. And have you noticed that the people that you get the most value from are individuals that have had a very similar life story as you, has gone through the same struggles, has made the same mistakes, has gone through the same pitfalls, and knows exactly what your pain points are and what your trigger points are. Those are the most valuable people. And this reminds me of another idea where the most valuable teachers are the ones that are just a step ahead of you. Because they're at least some of the most valuable teachings is when they're just a step ahead of you. Because two things, because if they're way too far ahead of you, they would have lost memory of what exactly it's like to be in your position. But if someone was just in your position a week ago or a month ago, and they just now solved their problem that you're also having, it's very fresh in their mind as to what are the exact mental struggles and all the nuances and caveats. This is another little tangent there. I like to think a lot about, if you want to become an individual that is a teacher, that is an educator, that, wants to create a book or make a course, the most value that you can create is on how you solved your own problem. Let's be honest here. For the most part, we are not really motivated to solve problems that are outside our own personal scope. If we do not have a personal connection to that problem, we're not going to be motivated to really put in that full effort required to actually come up with an intelligent and revolutionary solution that's going to really move and shake people's lives. You're just not. Even if in poverty. I mean, like, you're helping, like, starving kids in Africa, right? It's like, well, you're not really going to be motivated to do that unless, like, you have, like, a real personal connection to that idea. Like, even if that idea is just like, my mission is to help as many humans in the world, right? Because we're all human and we deserve to be able to eat and whatnot. And maybe, I don't know if, I'm not talking to every humanitarian or person in charity, but they in their own life, they see it, like they needed something like that, charity like that in their own life, and so they become that individual, and they find they become the individual that has the patience for that. But instead of, like, that example, because that example comes to my mind, so I try to tackle it, I think about how, have you noticed how, once you learned how to rid your traumas, or how to quiet your mind or focus yourself, you immediately have so much value, and it's so much easier to teach people. And really, we're only really motivated to really teach what we needed. You look at any individual that, creates courses and whatnot, and there's this thing called, like, the avatar, right? Like, what's your ideal avatar? And a pattern that I've really noticed is that the most common avatar for people is their younger self, their less developed self, their undisciplined self, their previous self. And what's really cool about, teaching what we need the most is that it has its own built-in system to make sure that it's valuable. Because you wouldn't teach something that you needed that didn't work for you. Or you wouldn't teach something that wouldn't even sound good to you. Like, you can teach something that sounds good to you, but maybe doesn't sound good to someone else. But at least you would have that layer where it has to first pass through your line of defense. Like, are you just bullshitting yourself? And also, when you teach something that you need, as its own personal project, it's a really great way to keep you accountable for actually embodying the teaching yourself. I think for any real issue that you have in your life, even in, like, a very primitive way, you should seek to make it into a project such that you can teach it to other people, such that you might find that in teaching it, you'll cap off, or you'll patch some last few holes in your solution that you have created for yourself, in the construct of your ideas. I really noticed this. Like, I can think about, like for example, taking the context of this talk right now and these talks, I can immediately notice when I am, struggling to find words. When I'm, when I can immediately notice when I really don't know what I'm talking about, or when I really don't have a solid, clear grasp. on something. And in that process, I can then correct my understanding of how much I actually know. Like, try speaking 10 minutes on a topic. If you really don't know what the fuck you're talking about, or if you don't even have like an energy behind it, you'll notice that it's very fucking difficult to talk about something. And I've definitely noticed in this episode here, like, you know, because with every talk that I do, I will always have like a thing written down. So like the prompt, and I'll just have a prompt, like a sentence prompt or a paragraph prompt, or like, you know, a sentence followed by a paragraph explanation. But usually just a sentence. You know, like the prompt for this one is like, we must teach what we need the most. You know, and that's really it. And I have some other things on it, but that's it. And I thought that was valuable enough, or an interesting enough of an insight to explore and talk about, and to see just how much I really know about that idea. Because like, what I really need the most is an absolute clarity on every little idea that comes through my mind. This is my process of strengthening my mind and strengthening the constructs and of the, you know, and the web of constructs of ideas in my mind, so I can actually have a lot of thought behind every single topic that I want to be learned on. That's this whole channel right here. So yeah. To close, I'd like to bring up this insight that comes to me. It's not only that we must teach what we need the most. I actually believe we are sentenced, at least we are sentenced with the insights that we are meant to have. By this I mean, look, you were given a lot of traumas in your life, a lot of problems. You know, whether you participated in creating those problems or those problems were thrusted upon you. Naturally, you want to remedy all those issues. You know, you want to clear those traumas. You want to have a peaceful mind and create a passionate life where you have the success that you want. So you have these desires to live passionately and also live, you know, with a peaceful conscience. And that's going to be a natural force guiding you. And it's up to you whether or not you listen to that message. And what I've noticed is that, especially during trauma, you know, shadow work, for example, when you actually process your trauma, you will get a very deep insight about reality that very few people will get themselves, because that insight is hard won. That insight requires you first going over that emotional hurdle. And I've really noticed this. And that's why I like to say, you know, we are sentenced with the insights that we are meant to have. You know, reality is concocting this whole soup, this whole orchestra of experiences for you to go through all the trials and triumphs, for you to learn what you are meant to learn. It's like God is playing The Sims on you right now. If you can entertain that idea. And so, why not take these insights that you were meant to learn and teach it to people? Because when you teach it to someone, there's this saying where you need a lot more knowledge, about a topic. To be able to teach something proves that you know at least 90% about the topic. Whereas just like knowing it or accomplishing it for yourself is like, I don't know, 50 to 60%. To truly master something in your life, you want to be able to teach it in a way where you can potentially translate some of these insights into other people's lives. This will demonstrate your understanding of just how much you know. And it's also an accomplishment of being able to actually say that, like, yep, been there, done that, and I'm way beyond it. I've transcended it now, and I can now bring these insights out into the world, out of the mind and into the world, and actually add value. So yeah, I like to challenge you, in whatever way you want to do it, in a journal, or make your own personal vlogs like this where you just speak about the topic and upload it to a private channel where no one looks at, or make it public, That's really what this is, I don't really care what views this channel gets. I know eventually it will get a lot of views, but not nearly as the main one we'll be trying to get views on, but yeah. This channel is just my personal process of sharpening my ideas and teaching what I know and teaching what I needed the most. Like I wish, for example, I had talks like this, every single day, or like, let's say 3 times a week. When I was, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. And so this is my due diligence now to teach what I needed the most to my previous self, and to make sure that I can fully let go of the individual that was ignorant by pushing my teachings forward and explicitizing it in my words. And I'll tell you, like, having made several hundred of these videos, I have I've sped up my self-actualization process quite a bit. It's actually very surprising just how much you can really speed up your progress by forcing yourself to teach what you learn. So don't be afraid of being a teacher, even if you don't identify with being one. It can be a very good technique for really getting yourself to that next level. And just another note I want to add is, putting these public for myself kind of keeps me accountable to keep uploading, to keep speaking. I would love to keep this thing going 3 days a week, for as long as I see fit. So, yeah. I almost quit halfway through this talk, and I think I actually said some pretty good shit. So, that's kind of funny. Anyways, I'd like to thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.